Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs and today I am here to show you guys my custom SH Figuarts Taskmaster commission. The customer reached out to me and said, hey, I really liked your other Taskmaster figure that you did like a year ago or so. I was wondering if you could give my figure a similar touch-up. And originally that's exactly what it was going to be, and as we kept talking, it sort of evolved into a little bit more of a full-on commission figure, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. The goal was to merge those movie and comic designs and make him feel very, anti-Avengers style character, having counters and having tech that's been inspired by all their different abilities and suits. So putting this guy off to the side, let's take a look at the accessories really quick. We're going to start off with the alternate hood. Just like his primary hooded up version, both of these hoods have been repainted in a duplicolor white. Duplicolor is this automotive like aerosol spray that you can get in a can. The chemical is pretty strong. Get a mask for it, but it's super durable and weatherproof because it's made for cars. So when you have parts that are going to come into a lot of friction, like this hood and the whole collar piece, these are really good paints to use. So I sprayed it in duplicolor white and then dry brushed a little bit of gray weathering just to help pick out that texture and the edges and just make it look a little bit more dirty. So dry brush that in some gray, and I did that with the main hood as well. Coming over to his alternate head sculpt, we have the default movie head sculpt now, but painted it with this red lens with this orange glow, as well as painted some of this silver chrome into a matte white. So you get a difference in finish between some of the metal, I guess, bracing or lining that that's giving the helmet some structure, and then the more decorative white skull on the front. So I really like how this came out. This is a very similar finish to what I did with my other Taskmaster custom a while back, very heavily inspired. But I made a couple changes just to make the paint a little bit smoother, and I did less modifications on the helmet as well, leaving it a little bit more intact because I want both heads to be able to swap with the hood pulled down and the hood pulled up. The other mods I made previously to my own aren't designed for the hood at all. So this is a little bit more compatible with everything else. And then I just did a black wash in the blue and across some of the silver, just to add some grime and some pitting and depth into the metal. So there you go. That's his alternate head sculpt. Coming to his shield, the normal shield has these grips that are installed to go around the arm on either side. I instead swapped it out with magnets. So I popped everything out and then put 2 magnets here so that it can connect to his arm. And then on this side here, I kept the same orange, but normally the rest of the shield is black. So I gave the edge this, it was a chrome silver, and then I washed it out and dry brushed it with some blacks and browns to help add some weathering. And then I took a, was Angelus blue. I think it's like a navy blue sapphire color, mixed it with some matte black to dampen it down, and then filled in these extra bits around the sides, and then dry brushed a little bit more with some black over that to get this really dirty shield. So he's got his shield more in the classic colors with the blue, kind of white, and then his very bright metallic orange. Coming over, he also comes with 2 firearms. Sorry, bumped the camera. The first one I'm giving him is this Valiverse sort of shortened barrel AR. I just like the idea of giving him a rifle. He needs something longer range, something to cover some distance. So I feel like SBR is perfect for that. I really liked the chrome mags, and then I painted the ejection port as well as the little barrel port in chrome silver as well, just to kind of fit that color scheme. And then we have red in the scope there. He also is maintaining his revolver, and I like the revolver with the matte black and then the little orange lining. So I didn't do anything to the revolver. I didn't feel like it needed it. And for the holster design I'm going with, leaving it unpainted is probably better for the paint job overall. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then last but not least, he has two swords. Normally the figure only comes with one. I added a second from my own copy because I'm not using it and I don't really plan to. And so both swords got painted matte black and then dry brushed with some silver to get a very nice pitted weathered look out of them. Let me get the camera to, there we go. Look at that. So really, really nice metallic sheen and weathering there. And then something I wanted to do with the swords is making them feel a little bit more classic Taskmaster. So I made the little hilt. I get, is that hilt? Brace? I don't really know what to call it. Painted that gold, and then we still keep the orange T logo there. And then in terms of weapons and weapon storage now, let's get into that. So if you're not familiar with these figures, the hands are pre-cut to hold around the sword hilt. And so to install it, you have to slide the hand onto the hilt and then cap the sword over it. So that means that when you're not using the full sword, you're left with this peg and the hilt. So for Taskmaster here, I drilled into his backpack and then sculpted these little holders onto his back. And so now you can fit the swords into his back. And they are keyed. So if we take a look at this here, you can see that there's a flat side and more of a circle side. So the flat side is keyed into the, I believe it's the inward facing part of his back, if I remember correctly. Never mind, outward. There we go. Flat part is keyed outward. So they plug into his back. And now, starting off with the weapons storage, he has these two cross guard stored swords. And he gets a little bit of a Deadpool look from there. So that's the very first inspiration for the weapon storage. We have Deadpool. Now, coming to the revolver holster here, I was really inspired by Winter Soldier, and I've done this with a couple of my figures where I'm doing a fitted holster here. He had something very similar in the Captain America Winter Soldier movie for a couple of his different pistols on his thighs. And he also rocks a couple different loadout kits in the movie. But anyways, a fitted revolver holster here. This is all custom sculpted. So I imprint the revolver into a block of sculpting putty. And then after that, I cut it and sand it down so that it fits and clicks around the revolver there. So you can see we have a really, really nice hold and super nice little strap clips up there as well. And so you can see I can shake it. It's not going to fall out. It has a very, very nice grip. And then he can pop it out and use it. So there you go. That is the revolver storage right there. Moving over to the left leg here, we have some spare mags. It's hard to tell on camera. There's a little bit of blue in these, but it is mostly black and gunmetal. And then we have some pops of metallic orange there and extra silver weathered mags for his AR. Coming up to the primary head now, the primary hood, let's pop these off so we can take a look at them. This skull head is from I believe it's the Storm Collectibles Skeletons, and I didn't do any modding with it, I just repainted it. So at first I completely painted it black, and then after that I dry brushed it with some bone, colored paint, and then some gray, and then lastly some white right around the front. So you get a nice fade into the darker gray on the back. And then you can see sort of in these creases and corners here, I washed some extra bone in all around the little, sort of the eyebrow furrow, around the jawbone, up under here, and then right around the sides of the teeth. So he's got some really nice tones in there. And then for the eyes, I have orange, white, yellow, and gold kind of layered on top of each other. And so it's a little bit hard to see on camera, but you can see some edges to those eyes there. And you can see sort of the whites and oranges coming around the sides of the gold, just to add a little bit more depth and really get that sort of glowing skull effect across. And I like them. You can kind of pose him like he's looking a couple different angles from there. So there you go. that is the skull head. And then we also obviously have the alternate hood. Same thing, duplicolor white, and then some gray dry brushing. All right, so let's see him. Now you've seen him with the hood on, so let's get him in a hood off look. And let's also pose him with the more MCU inspired head. And let's talk about the rest of his accessories. All right, head's popped on. So what did we do with the body here? So the very first thing is I took this strap from the G.I. Joe movie Snake Eyes figure. I bought like 7 of those figures back in the day because I really like the body and wanted to customize it on it. So I have a bunch of these extra straps. So the strap loops around at the top of the cloak on both sides, and then I cut it so that it can slide up under the backpack there. So he's got this new crossbody strap. Let me get that camera to clear up. He's got this nice crossbody strap here. I sculpted this extra sort of shoulder neck guard up on one side per customer request. And I wanted to, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I wanted to hide a T motif as I was sculpting different things. So in the negative space, we have the white here, but the black kind of creates a T up across here with this middle divide. So a little bit of a T motif right there in the shoulder guard. And then talking about shoulders, I took SHF War Machine shoulder pads, and I put some sculpt and some glue, and I actually pasted them over the normal shoulder pads. And you can see I lined it up with the hinge in the shoulder. Let's get that. Lined it up with the hinge in the shoulder. And so now they just, there we go. And now they just tilt and move up as needed really, really nicely. I'm gonna pop these out for the time being. So now he's got much broader shoulders, and that was a thing about the other figure, is that, you know, if you haven't seen the Black Widow movie, spoilers, Taskmaster isn't a man, Taskmaster is a woman in the MCU. And so they gave Taskmaster sort of a slimmer build to make it a little bit more ambiguous, but we want this to be Tony Masters. So we're adding these shoulder pads to just help buff out that body frame a little bit. And so the shoulders have been painted in white, as you can see, weathered with some gunmetal. And then I wanted to continue making comic book nods. So he's got the white cloak, he's got the white hood, but I wanted to continue that cloak and cape look, right? Because I'm not going to give him a cape. It doesn't fit with the rest of his more tactical design. No one wears capes anymore, really. But to add on to that, now having the shoulder pads come in with the white helps extend that cloak look a little bit more over the shoulders. And a little added detail is you can see that the little rivet right here, as well as these lines, these little panel lines that come across the shoulders, have been picked out in gold, as to nod to the normal little gold clasps that he has on either side of his cloak on his chest. You know, same thing with the little bit of gold added in there. So trying to nod to his comic design, even in the way that these colors are blocked out with the white over the shoulders and the gold accents on the shoulders. Moving down, we have T motif painted into the belt. This was obviously like a clear design from the costume designers for Taskmaster, as well as sort of the T's that you can find on the knees and on the boots. So I wanted to maintain some of that, but some of the coloration I changed up quite a bit just to break up the detailing a little bit. I think the original design that they had felt a little bit heavy on the blue and orange, and so the whole body's been repainted to mute down the very punchy and saturated blues that the armor normally has. So it's been completely redone with matte black, and then with some matte sapphire blue, and then weathered over and washed over with some black. And then coming down to the armbands here, normally the Taskmaster character has full like orange arms. So we have some metallic orange armbands here, fully painted out, as well as the orange tabs here on the shoulders. And I wanted to pay some respect to the udon design as well. So we're bringing in some gunmetal silver here on the forearms, as well as bringing in this wider gunmetal plate on the legs. Originally, I had them in a much brighter silver, but it looked disjointed to the color scheme, so I had to mute those colors down, make them more of a gunmetal than a chrome silver. Moving over to the right arm here, elbow pad also in a sort of silver gunmetal. And then on the right arm, we have two different little Avengers-inspired accessories here. The first one being the triple missile pod up on the arm. Feels a little bit G.I. Joe Destro, but also very Iron Man Tony Stark reminiscent. And this is actually inspired by some concept art for Taskmaster. They had an idea early on with this whole silver panel being able to sort of like lift and retract up and reveal a single missile pod. So I wanted to play off of that and added 3 here. It also feels a little bit like the whistling birds from The Mandalorian, which I think is fun. And then here I sculpted in a little tiny web shooter. And I did web shooter over the top of the hand because A, I don't have web thwipping hands for Taskmaster, but B, I thought it was kind of cool to take both quote-unquote inspiration from Spider-Man and a little bit of Venom coming up over the hand here, more from the wrist than from, I guess over the arm instead of under the arm for where the web shooter is. So in this case, this, could be grappling hooks, or maybe Taskmaster has duplicated the web formula and is using that as well. Moving over to the left side here, we have to keep it symmetrical. So first we'll take a look at the web shooter. Again, you can see another place that you could probably insert a wire in, a very thin wire. I didn't test it with wires because the wire I had was actually a little bit too big, but I know there are thinner wires that you can buy, so you can absolutely slot something in there if you wanted to fully pose it out. And then for the other side, this is where the magnetic shield goes on. And I was originally thinking maybe do I play with like symmetrical magnetics on both sides, but A, I wanted to go Iron Man, and then B, it makes sense with his collar for his left arm to be more of the heavily kitted out one. So we have a whole nice magnetic brace that I sculpted up, and I was really thinking about, what was it? It's not New Avengers. I don't even remember what, maybe it is New Avengers, where Cap has like the magnetic arm brace with the energy shield. You're gonna have to tell me what comic run that was. Marvel Now, maybe? I don't remember. But anyways, let's take a look at the magnets now. So the magnets here, they pop on, and they're very secure on the figure, and he looks great with that shield. So let's actually just get him posed up real quick here to show it off. And then, boom. So he's looking real nice with that shield. And some very nice storage there. The best part is these magnets have pretty clear contact, so they don't have to be 100% full on there. It'll just tap the shoulder. You can flex it around. You can move his arm, and the magnets will still hold. They'll hold very nicely. So you don't need 100% contact on there. They just need to be close enough to make, some form, and it'll sit nicely. So plenty of display options there too, and you don't have to worry about scratching up the shoulder pad because once again, it's that duplicolor white paint. Coming back to the little T motif, you can see at the end of the brace here, I have a little bit extra gold lining, and it sort of makes a T under the magnet there. And then for the wrist guards itself, I went with a little bit of white and some metallic orange to continue to pay homage to the white gloves that he would normally wear, as well as bringing in some more silver gunmetal on the inner arm. Coming down to the legs, we've already talked about them a little bit, but just coloring them blue with some chrome silver and some orange highlights to pick it up. And then down here, we took the MCU Marvel Legends Crossbones figure shin pads and sanded them down on the inside, really thinned them out, and then pasted them over the Taskmaster legs. You can see they hold quite flush to the leg here. They've also been sprayed in duplicolor white, and then weathered a ton with browns and blacks and some washes to help bring in all the dirt and grime that he should be going through. And once again, white for the white boots that Taskmaster would have in the comics. And then down to the feet, we really didn't do any mods, but we did repaint a little bit. It's not coming across on the camera very well, but there is a brown wash in the boots, and you can kind of see it in the cracks there, just to add that extra muddiness and dirtiness to the feel of the boots there. And then you've probably noticed it already, but the entire undersuit here all these sort of mesh bits I have painted in a sort of black and gray urban camo pattern. So you can see all these different areas here coming all the way down the legs, all have a black and gray camo. I had to hand paint all of this, labor of love, but I think it turned out really great and just adds more to that military feel for Taskmaster. So I really, really like that. I did it on my version as well, but I think I did the distribution of black and gray a little bit better on this one. There's a little bit more of this light gray patterned in, and so it's easier to pick out that camo pattern when you're looking at it from afar. So overall, just incredibly, incredibly happy with how this figure's turned out. I think he looks super, super menacing, and I think he's got quite a lot of fun little weapons and references in his suit. We have Captain America's shield, we have Iron Man's missiles, we have Spider-Man / Venom web launchers, we have crossguard sword storage, nodding to Deadpool, and then obviously he's got a couple guns for anyone else who wants to step toe-to-toe with him. So really quick, I want to compare him to my old Taskmaster figure, which I've sort of transformed into this Halo ODST-inspired character. But let's put on the classic skull and classic hood again, just to close out the review here. So you just put the head and the hood in, and then you just kind of press the hood down and press that head onto the neck peg there. So here we go. We're back with the OG Taskmaster look. Let's get him standing up nice and straight here. And now let me grab my ODST figure. And it's really, really cool how much of a difference they have between each other. I mean, you can see both of them kind of rocking those camo bodysuits, but I mean, everything else, man. You can see some of the similarities, but I mean, just even in terms of the difference in paint job, it really feels like, let me get this camera to focus a little better. Really feels like two different characters, almost entirely. And I really, really like that. I like the difference between them, and that even though you're using the same base, you can transform them in terms of paint, in terms of accessories and everything you stack on top of it, and you can translate them very, very differently. So just wanted to bring that in there, since these are the exact same body, but I think the results turned out very, very differently there. So two fun little customs I've been able to work on, and I really like this Taskmaster body. It's so versatile with the armor just being like relatively default military. There's a lot you can do with it. So there are some things I didn't show off with this Taskmaster figure. He still keeps his bow and arrow accessory. Just didn't, there's nothing to do with it since the hand's fixed and everything. Nothing really to repaint there. And then he's got a full array of accessories and all the other stuff that the normal Taskmaster figure comes with, like the visor that you can fit under the clear lens, and all his little Black Panther claw hands and everything. Still has all of it. But I just didn't do anything really with the hands. I wanted just to leave them the blank silver and blue. And that's also because the customer actually sent me 2 pairs of Black Panther hands. So he's got another pair of the gripping hands somewhere at home. So I didn't want to modify all the hands, and then his gripping hands for the swords wouldn't have the same paint job. So opted to leave all the swappable hands as default for the sake of the customer and how he'll be able to handle it and pose it at home. So I think that just about ties up the review for this figure. Super fun. And I really think the challenge came into figuring out how to incorporate the accessories meaningfully into the design, and trying to figure out, what Avengers would be good to mimic, would be manageable to mimic with the design. I was thinking about giving him some batons for a little bit as well, and putting that instead of the rifle mags, but ultimately I'm thinking Black Widow, Shield, Punisher, who else he's going to come across. The rifle and revolver seemed like a good place to start. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little review and breakdown of the figure. I'm very proud of it. I think this is such a cool adaptation, and merging the two designs and elements of the character that we've seen. So there you go. Hope you guys have enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you later. I don't have anything else. Don't have any other notes. So much love. Thank you all for the continued support, and I will catch you next time. Take care.